last week, no dean, no demos, no Jasmin, no topics. So it was a small meeting because they were not there. But today, so many topics and so many demos, and probably some discussions because of Dan is here. So
I would do a demo rather.
Oh, that will lead to some discussions. So 5, 25, 20, 20 oh, not yet. Oh my God, 2021. Maybe so fast. We will be dead by then. Demos. So Zoltan.
Yep.
Some demo.
Media indexing.
Dean.
Yes, I'm back. So I have 2 demos.
He's back.
On the finalized version of filters for the contents list, and then we talk about Audit Trail a little bit, maybe, if we have time.
Anyone else with demos?
I can do one if there's time. Just an app we built that's not open source.
Yes.
If there's time. If not, I can do it next week.
That's not topics. You're responsible for bringing the topics.
It's sunny outside.
Yeah, I mean, I joined the meeting. It was raining for 2 days, and now there is some sun. I should just stop the meeting and go outside.
No. After.
Okay. Yeah, I leave that, and then I was there. Topics, not topics. We'll see. Well, we talked about this meta issue, so I will add it. It's not recorded. You missed it. Yeah, issue. But been working on that this morning. So this thing. So status. So last week we did nothing special, just status, no demos, no topics. Audit one, there were some changes. Means what's new here? Refactor method body to protected method. Okay. Localization to be able to create their own service. And that's it. Core. Clear. The filter. Okay, 18. This one. Remove deprecated chat to 56 crypto service provider usage. While running the benchmark, it started failing. The SDK was doing some warnings that this was deprecated, so it could not be used on the .NET 6. And I checked the documentation, and we should do that. And it works for all the versions that we are targeting. It was added to this thing, and this comment here, to be FIPS compliant machine, was added before 3.0. So I assume since then, this one now works on all types of machines because it's documented as working for everything. And that is not available anymore. This thing is called internally when you do .create.
Yeah, that would be correct, but there was some .NET 2 code.
Okay. And I checked this link also, and he also said the same thing. It was an old thing. So I did that, and it's fixed English. You will test pass, so we'll see. I assume it will work. And actually, so it broke the benchmarks, but this is not how I found out that it was broken. Someone else from Microsoft related also to benchmarking and performance, because they are using Orchard as a source for the PGO. PGO, which means performance guided optimizations, which is a way to analyze what's happening in an app to optimize the IL generated by the JIT. So the idea is that the JIT is more clever in the way it's cheating code by taking into account some profiles that are taken from running apps. So they use a few apps to train the system, and then they feed this training to the JIT and release it with the runtime. So the runtime has PGO files. Now ASP.NET will have also these kind of things, and this way the runtime is faster. And they use Orchard, and that's how they found out it was broken, because they were running everyday Orchard dev branch on the .NET 6 to build some PGO sources. And I also found out that it was breaking the benchmark, so I fixed it. Markdown, sorry, mkdocs updates, BlogTheme, jQuery dependency. Okay. ContentTypePartDefinitionDisplayDriver, TPart. How did I miss that? Okay, it's a generic one that will filter out the parts already. Just want to see where it's done. Oh, it's already there.
We already had the last file at the bottom.
Okay, thank you. So this is the thing. Can handle. Okay. Let me think. What if, I'm sure it will fail as I'm explaining it, but what if we had a static read-only property that does that? No, because we need to see the model. Okay. Yeah, because on each call, it needs to check the model. Okay. It can be memorized. Okay, cool. Azure extension displayed configuration secrets 1-to-1, which must be an update from 1 to 0. 110. Shortcode docs and rename Razor extensions. Have we updated your code? Maybe yes, when there was a breaking change in pilot. Okay. Necessary when we do some liquid templates in GraphQL, for instance, or when you have a body part that you want to template and it has shortcodes. Okay. Check allowed file extensions when importing media. Security issue here. If we don't do that, then you could upload files using the deployment feature, files that are not allowed. Even though if you can export things, you must have very high permissions, like it's a security, how do we call that? Security sensitive security sensitive permission, or security critical permission. That when it's not log error, always do. I saw that, but I didn't say anything. But now it's recorded. Everyone will see that. So if you do log warning, do if logger dot is log level, log warning enabled, something like that. Then logger.log1. So only call that if log warning is enabled. For log error, we don't do the check, but otherwise we need to do the check. Okay. Same thing for log information. Fix reCAPTCHA. Why did you break it? Okay, no more new. Create a sync, okay. Same thing. Fix namespace. Okay. Use data URL AF in place of itemprop and save URL. What does AF mean in this case?
Anti-forgery.
Thank you. And I say in this case because any American will know that doesn't mean that in the other case. Okay. Show technical name of content type and display name of content parts. That's a long commit message. That should be a description. So show technical name of content type and display name of content parts in edit content type page. Okay. So model.name content type view model, display name and name. Okay. Display name and name. Technical name of the type. That's an input. That's new. What is that? Content parts in edit content type. Curly brace. What does it do?
It just shows a read-only input with the technical name of the content type, so that we can know what is the difference between the display name and the technical name. We couldn't guess it from the content part that is added on the edit page, but we know not everyone knew that.
I missed the read-only. That's why.
Yeah.
Why so many classes like this and none here? Well, yeah, none. Class here. Yeah, it's weird.
Well,
This-
else it would have an input that takes all the width of the page, which makes sense for.
But what I mean is that there's a discrepancy there and there. It's not the same thing. So if there is an issue that it's fixing here, it's not fixing it there. And if there is an issue here,
Because we
then
set it to 25% all the time. Yeah, probably
Okay.
it's not consistent. We should have the same small fix.
it's weird to have 75 on small. Why not just use full size? Okay. ListPart shape name for placement. ListPart shape name because otherwise you could if you try to change that, you will change the front end too. Or if you change the front end, you might change the back end. So now there is a custom shape type for the ListPart and summary in the admin. And the templates have been changed because they are from the admin. Properly initialize content fields. This is from Jean-Philippe in order to assign the default values to fields when they are created and not just edited. Good. Good mirror update. Ah, that's a small update. Probably a typo they fixed. Resource dependency location. Uh-oh. Require setting location. Oh, it was missing that. Okay. Fixes Shape.Properties access in Liquid. Yes, someone complained it wasn't available, probably Jean-Philippe. And when I say probably Jean-Philippe, it's not because he's always complaining, just because I remember him saying that. Okay, yeah, dependency issue with these files. BenchmarkDotNet 0.13 because it's better. Fluid.Core 2011 because it's so much better. This one is super necessary. I don't remember what was broken. What was broken? Well, sorry, what was fixed? It's easy because I'm super proud that I maintained that fixed cache expression in include type. Okay, so yes, if you were calling include with a property, I think the second time you call include, it will not update the property value of the parameter. Cache issues, so workflow editor quality of life improvements. You know, someone's quality of life improvement is not everyone's quality of life improvements. So I will just say that you improved the editor. So this is just rename. Probably.
Yeah, sometimes the boxes would go off the editor. I don't know why. It had a negative X or a Y. I don't know how some people do it, but I've seen it many times.
So in programming, there is a method called max or min. I think that will help here. If it's less than 0, take 0. What you can do is mat.max 0 active recorded X.
Oh, yeah. Also, I made the boxes have a max width in the CSS.
Ah.
So that when you have a long, like let's say you do a notification and you have a really long notification, the box would be very wide and it would become hard to move around.
Why not 283?
280 fit well with most titles, so I went with that.
I will use 289 just because 89 here. That's hard. How do you know what size you should put there? Maybe in rems.
Could be.
Or EMs size, number of charts, size of the chart. Yeah, probably. So if you zoom and there are 10 charts, it will still use 10 charts. It will just be bigger box. And yeah, that might be interesting. Yeah. Fix reCAPTCHA, g-recaptcha-response token. Jasmine is using reCAPTCHA and is finding issues. Okay, so you fixed it. Using the form post with content type from the JavaScript framework. Okay, as long as you understand what it means.
Yeah, basically you can now post the token generated from the reCAPTCHA when you validate the reCAPTCHA by sending it on the header of the request.
G-recaptcha-response.
Yeah.
That's this thing, the g-recaptcha-response.
Yeah.
Okay. New user event handlers. Don't save them. Creating and created. Created was there. Creating wasn't. Deleting, deleted. Creating user create context. Creating, updating, updated. So, bool cancel. But, okay. User store context. Invoke creating. If nobody says cancel, then save. And start changing. And then create it. Okay, that's a new event.
Yeah, so you'll remember we've probably discussed this a few times with the whether or not the user store should call save changes async and commit the session. And looked at removing it, but Kevin wasn't pleased about the idea. And he's not wrong, because it would create some weirdness with the user manager, because the user manager expects to get a result back of failed or success. So the kind of general issues that people have been having around this, the fact that the user commits the transaction, is that they can't cancel it through a handler. So we add some handlers so that people can do a few more things before it's saved.
How do you handle that with workflows? Does it require custom activities now?
It may well do, actually, to be honest.
And how do you do that? Because you could have an activity for an event like user creating, but this activity, then how do you say it will need some script? Like, okay, give me the script to say if it failed or cancel or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you want to validate, if you want to validate, okay, so that would be a validation, like user creation validation activity, and then you can cancel and return a custom message. Can you return a custom message? You can't, because here you just say failed. Can't say why.
No, but I think the workflow events can validate. They can return their own message, but not a custom message.
Yes, so here it's not validated, just when the store fails. Okay.
Yeah, so it's managing the ability to cancel, so it's validation, plus it also adds the ability to actually alter properties on the user from a handler before it's persisted, like to change custom settings or to set custom settings, because otherwise you can't commit it because it's in the wrong event. It's already committed.
I see, I understand. Okay.
So it's kind of both.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And think about it. Table in dark mode. Oh my God, Jean-Thierry doing CSS.
Yeah, I checked with him and it's fine.
And you know why we never had any issue with dark mode and tables, because we don't use tables. It's
Yeah,
only
we try to not use tables, but this
What?
adds the ability of,
you
because you
didn't
can,
succeed.
yeah, you can team, you can add colors teams on tables, and with this, then it works.
And what I mean is that you try to not use tables.
Normally, yeah, we don't use tables.
Yeah, okay. That's what I so it's good to fix it, but if we could not use tables, it would be even better.
Yeah.
Package dependency. Okay. Code optimization.
Yeah, I use as form content type here to include also application, multi-part form, or something like that. Yeah.
Button drop down menu style. Oh, too much changes. Trust you. It's better. Fix any menu styles when compacted and scrollable. How many things did you break?
No, I fixed them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was an issue. Yeah, because I wanted to have like a different mode for mobile submenus, and it was not working properly. And I needed to use JavaScript for this. Basically, when we have a scroll on the collapsing menu, then it switches the theme to use the full height submenu instead of just the small pop-ups.
Okay, talk to you next week about all the things that got broken. There will be issues 25. Yeah, that's today. So yeah, there will be issues 5 by next week. Cypress, update Cypress. And other dependencies that are reported by dependable. Okay. Good. Time for demos. Time for demos in alphabetical order, Zoltan.
Yeah, starting from back. Let me start screen sharing. Just a sec, because I'm still not used to this very new UI that the teams just rolled out for screen sharing. So you should be able to see my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the link to what I'm talking about. It's a super simple implementation for indexing media files, and I'm a bit afraid to demo it here, not because of criticism, because I'm afraid that there will be a lot of awesome ideas to make it very complex. But let's see. So the idea here was to allow you to search for content in files. This was originally intended for a customer. They didn't actually want it in the end. I already did the research work, which was half of it, so I figured, well, this could actually be made into a general feature as well. What this allows you to do is to search media text, and actually also the content of PDF files with a very cool little library. Well, the library itself is not very little, but a simple to use library called PDFpig. And yeah, reading text out of PDFs is its own magic. So we need to be very thankful for the author of this library to publish it as open source. I think it's pretty much the only viable open source alternative there. I've also documented how you'd use this because it needs a bit of setup. I'm not actually entirely sure whether this should be needed. There should be an easier way, but here it is. So first of all, I'm demoing this on the example of a blog site. So just simply set up with the blog recipe. I didn't really make it very sophisticated, the demo. And what you will see here is that on the blog post content type, we have the banner image media field still, but there is now a new thing. Oh, I got logged out in the end. What is it better? Well, probably nothing. So you still have the banner image here. I just wanted to make it indexable. So now when you tick this, it actually will do something. And similarly, if we go back, I added another media field. Well, to store documents, which doesn't probably make any sense for blog posts, but I just wanted to get something going quickly. And this document is a media field as well. Nothing else here yet. Just this including the index is ticked for now. So that's the basic setup. Up until now is the same to make it indexable as it is for every field. What you have to do after that is you have to do some configuration for the search fields. So that is one thing I don't think should actually be necessary, but I didn't dig into it too much. Anyway, you should add the fields that are now indexed for each of the media fields. Well, I actually added one for the subtitle just to test text field indexing as well. And again, this is documented, so you don't have to figure it out. And now we are at the point where it should actually work. So if you open a blog post, I added a couple of things here. First of all, for the document fields, I added a PDF, which fittingly is a PDF export of the Wikipedia article about PDF. And we have now two banner images, and actually we have some media text for them as well. Yeah, this is the media text for the first one, media text for the second one. So up until now, pretty much the same thing that you do to index any field, because behind the scenes it will just work. So let's do some search. First of all, let's search for demo. This will be a very sophisticated part, so please pay attention. If we search for demo, well, nothing is returned. If we search for something in the media text, we should get the blog post though. So, for example, astronaut is not a word that would actually show up anywhere in the that would show up anywhere in the body. So let's search for that, and surprisingly, we get the blog post. And similarly, yeah, so let's clear it out so we see that something's happening. But similarly, if we search something from a PDF, so here's the PDF opened. I don't know. Let's search for Acrobat. That's surely something that doesn't show up anywhere else either. Well, we get to the blog post again. So it's not more sophisticated than that. So it will just show up the content item that has a matching media file reference from its media fields. So it's not like highlighting the text in the files or showing it anywhere. This was just a simple, well, probably a little bit more than a proof of concept to get media indexed. So what do you think?
It's cool. There is a PR button.
Yep, I got some comments from very soon. That's
I will. I have some ideas about how it should be implemented. I want to see if it's done this way, because we should be able to have some kind of handlers for each file type, and then be able to use PDFP for the PDF, or maybe two different ones that will provide things. And this way we can just just use modules that will register new file type, MIME type, analyzer. So you could extract, yeah, you see, so you have a media field index handler, yeah, something like that, yeah. Exactly.
It's very straightforward right now, just going straight for PDF. But indeed, we could have that extensible. I didn't actually find anything better than PDFP for extracting text.
I'm not even talking about it. I'm just saying if tomorrow we want to add JPEG or whatever file, XML, doc, whatever, no, because PDF is just an example. So if it works with PDF, if you can add something that will handle PDF, then you can add something that will handle anything. Because maybe people don't care about PDF. I mean, just want to index images. And they are like, no, I don't care about PDF. But so that about your concern about the configuration, I have to check. But so by default, it's in the full text property. And maybe there is a way to have a filter so we could configure it in the full text setting, like, or inject the text of the documents with a filter that will extract that will use the same handlers, and that we could apply on specific media from the filters from Liquid when we build the full text. But otherwise, we have to say which fields we want to index, because we don't index by default everything. In the full text, I mean, in the full text. So everything will be indexed in their columns, but when you do full text search, we need to say, okay, what do you want to include in your full text search? And that's what you changed to be able to use these fields in the full text. Some parts can register automatically there by implementing the body aspect, so they can provide the body content. So this could be also done this way. That could be a provider by default that will for each media field call, but that's not something we do for the fields. We don't do that for field. Okay, looks good. So yeah, just I will check about being able to add more handlers. That's it.
Yeah, thank cool. Great idea. I will check it out. Thanks.
Without DI, no DI, just options, and you can add custom handlers. This way, there is no DI resolution when you want to find for handlers. Cool. Next in alphabetical order is Jean-Philippe or Dean? Let's fight. Not sure. Dean, because Jean-Philippe said maybe next week if you don't have time, but we'll have time. Okay, Dean next then.
All right, let's see. Let's see how much. So a couple of little things to go through today, actually, before we start up with Audit Trail. So I did a demo probably maybe a month ago or something regarding search filters and parsers for the contents list. And I think we looked at issues of .NET last week, maybe last week, week before. So just kind of finalizing on that really. So what we get now is a nice little text here where you can type in text, type in filters. There's filters for type. What was it? Article? Of course, the articles. The sorts are in there as well. I haven't got localization turned on this site, but that's there too. So it all becomes kind of passed up there in the query string, and probably only the other change that I added to the UI is just to add a little describer kind of modal here as well. So all the registered filters describe what you can use, kind of properties, and it shows you the current value if there is a current value. And then we put a more complex one. And a little bit of information here on the syntax. So which filters support which syntax, and how the groupings and logical operators work. And then down the bottom, we just get the current filter, and we get a normalized version of it, which just describes how it's been automatically constructed. If you're just, so for example, if you don't actually put them in, the parser itself will still wrap a couple around, because it needs a way to kind of establish which is grouped and which ones fit together.
I think it needs a tree view of all the tokens that are found and the hierarchy.
I think that's a debugger for Parlot, possibly. But I could be wrong there. So for all of these, you can register custom ones, and describe them in any which way you want with any documentation. And same on the user screen. I haven't got enough users in this one to make it of any use. But you can filter on the name, you can filter on the email, you can filter on the roles, statuses, sorts. That's weird how that's there and not there. I have to have a glance at that.
It looks unusual to have boxes, cards like this instead of a table, I would say.
I very nearly put inputs on them so that you could actually click select, and it would actually you could type in specific bits of the filter. But Antoine told me it looked weird, so I didn't.
Yeah.
So that one's that's all done and probably ready to merge, unless anyone really wants a table here particularly, or has any other comments about. I wasn't sure about the idea of normalizing, just describing these things as normalized, but it seemed just to be an easy way to self-document it. Oh, there's no filter there.
Why is it uppercase O, IMV?
I think that was following Lucy.
But you told me, I know, you already answered. I'm still thinking it's weird. But
it is a little weird, and there's probably no need for it. We could change that. It can be.
If it was accepting two of them, I would be like, yeah, sure, fine if you want to type O in uppercase, but to have to go to uppercase to type the O. I'm nitpicking, but I mean, it doesn't. It's not obvious. Like I would type A or recent, and then it will be fine. Nothing. I'm like, why? Oh, because O is O. Okay.
Yeah, I went with, like I said, I went with Lucine's syntax there, but I think it's a little weird that it has to be uppercase as well, because I always forget it when I was testing it. So maybe we'll look at that. Should also point out that this is actually a new SQL feature. So this new project in.
Well, you say you forced me to accept that in your SQL?
Yeah, I know you. Absolutely. So yeah, it's a new. Oh, actually, I added some documentation as well, and I fixed all the old documentation, but it's not there. Where is it? I saved that. Maybe you removed it, Sebastian. Okay, so there's some documentation on your SQL on how you can configure these and use them yourself. We're starting to use it for some of our APIs, just because it's a useful short query syntax, simple query syntax for searching through your SQL indexes. And tomorrow I'll find out what happened to the documentation that I wrote, and it will be there next week. So here's some other things to look at as well, and this is, and I know Zoltan already doesn't like this, but that's okay. So I've been doing a little bit of a look at Audit Trail and trying to just help out to get it moving forward a bit, because I know it's a feature that people are looking for and wanting, and there was nothing wrong with the original PR, but it just needed a little bit of work to kind of come up to, I'm going to say the Orchard core stuff, because it came quite a lot from Orchard 1. So some of the stuff was the UI and then just reworking the display drivers and the like. And some of it needs to be worked into features, and we moved, John 3's already done a lot of work moving the code around from different modules so that it's in the right modules. So originally there was a table, which some people liked, some people not so much.
I want a
liked.
table.
And now there is no table. The table could come back, because I'm not really particularly picky about.
I trade you. Remove the table here and put it back. Put it in the operators. And then,
well, it depends if Zoltan is happy with that.
Probably the table here would be better.
You don't know what you're saying.
I have a before and after shot. Should we look at the before and after shot? Actually, no. Let me go through.
Oh, wait.
Let's
ask Paris Noble to create what's the name? A poll about what do you prefer, a table or list?
I think he needs to do a style guide first, and then we can do a poll.
Okay.
Yes. Right. Anyway, so this gets the same filter arrangement. Did this morning when it worked. Okay, one of them isn't working. That one works. Still no table, I'm afraid, here. But the kind of sorts you can do here is the event categories, the name of the user. Might call that user. Not sure yet. Date, which I haven't quite finished yet, but will be in the syntax of date start. So 10, and then a dot syntax for a range.
Is it October 10 or 10 October?
Well, I couldn't decide, so I decided to go for 10-10 or 10 to 10.
And yeah, that's how do you parse that? Is it using localization? Is it? I mean, it has to.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be that will be a little trickier, but I was going to rely on date pickers to grab this. I mean, we need to pass this anyway. We were already passing it. Really, it's just about getting the 2 dots in the middle for range, or no dots means no range, or dots at the start mean that it's a from range. But also it will be from a picker, so no big deal there, I don't think. But we need to figure out which month it's going to be, whether it's month, day. Right, so what else have we got? The other thing we looked at was what to do about the tables here. And there are still tables here.
They're fine.
And I had a little bit of fun with React yesterday and put in a little diff viewer as a so we've got 2 possibilities here. So this is your kind of, well, the diff viewer that you would expect to get if you're looking at things in GitHub, which has a nice little split view or a unified view. And conveniently, because I experimented with it, but only on the refresh, a nice little dark mode view as well, which is quite pretty, I have to say. Or we have the more the traditional view, which is
Zoltan, say something.
I like the new one better.
Thank you. It's okay. So you have two problems then. If Zoltan agrees, I mean, it's the boss.
Well, I think it's probably easier to just get a quick visual sense of what's going on.
And you have the choice. You still have the unified if you want, and even the unified looks better than the all unified. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to prefer a unified view, but rather than a split view. But that's just me. So they're both there. What I was considering doing on this page as well is I did put them in cards, but I'm not liking the cards. And I was actually thinking that it might be nice to have this screen, which is super easy to render, which is the actual what it looks like in terms of an editor, and a tab on here. So you had split, unified, actual code, or actual edit view as such. Because quite often when you are diffing something, you do really want to see kind of what it looks like in the context of how you edited it, or how you would edit it. But that's just for ideas.
Yeah, it looks nice if you have the third option, because not everyone is able to read JSON and understand what it means, or find their information in the JSON. Might be confusing for some editor.
Yeah, so I thought it was probably useful, probably worth having here, because like the first thing that I realized with these audit trail lists is they get very long very quickly. So you don't want to be spending a lot of time going back to the main view so that you can view this one or have the details. So did that, looked at, and there's just lots of options here at the moment as well. So when I looked at, when I looked back at O1 to see this, in O1 we don't store the entire content item every time it gets saved. We store a delta, which is used to produce the diff, whereas here we're storing every content item every time it gets saved. So every time I go to here and click save, saving in another version of it. Even though this is only a draft, we're grabbing a new version, and I know you guys wanted this particularly, Zoltan. But when we look at these, we've got version 11, version 11, version 11, all with a massive chunk of JSON next to them, and a tiny diff. So one of the other possibilities to kind of look at is whether we really do need to store the entire thing in these circumstances, or whether or not we could just store a delta. Here's another viewer here, which I looked at, which is available for .NET, which actually is a JSON diff syntax, which is quite interesting just in itself. So the actual JSON gets stored with, well, it just gets stored as a diff rather than getting stored as the entire chunk of JSON. I quite like the array example that he has here, because here he's just showing moves, because he's got it specified an array, how to mark the arrays and how to identify the values. So I think that's something that's kind of worth just thinking about, whether or not we do really want to store the entire content item on every save, or because we already have them in the version table as well, with the content item document table.
Is the concern with size, or because, I mean, it's implementation detail? Who cares about storing everything or a diff?
So some people have expressed concern about size. Other people kind of wondering why we're seeing. So, okay. let me show you something that could happen without this feature at all. So this is the one that we're looking at here, the most recent change. So we could have potentially, right now, without an audit trail module at all, this is the history of this content item. These are all the versions that we have, and you will excuse the UI because there is no table, and I did it rather quickly this afternoon just to see what we had already. So we're comparing the most recent one with just the previous one every time. So these are already in the database. They're right here. To have a restore button which shifts this from published to latest would be a matter of putting another button here. Or we go the whole hog with Audit Trail, or you have both potentially. Because one is a feature for just your average CMS user, and Audit Trail provides this full-on sequencing thing where you've got all of the changes for this article that have been recorded in the Audit Trail.
And Audit Trail is not just for content items.
And Audit Trail is not just for content items. Somewhere in here you will find a user as well.
It could be settings, configuration, users, roles.
Users, roles. I think roles was an Orchard one. I'd quite like to see an implementation for templates because that's really useful.
Can it be events like user login, logout?
So Gabor's already done the user login, logout. Where's the settings? JT changed the settings again the other day. So we've got all the content events and all of the user events. I just added updated yesterday because updated wasn't in there, and thought that was, for us, that's reasonably important because people change email addresses and people change names and usernames, and it's caused us grief in the past, I suppose. So we haven't got a diff for users yet, but I think potentially we might need to be able to demonstrate what the original username was and what the new username was. We have to be a little careful about revealing passwords and the like. Not that passwords are in the UI, well, not that passwords are unsalted, but I just have to restrict the diff, I suppose. So yeah, options, I suppose, because I think it was just worth exploring them before we go ahead and merge it to just see which areas we could get in without, in a way where we can improve it without breaking it further and implement more stuff. So yes, table. Who wants a table? Who wants some consistency with the existing UI?
I prefer the consistency. And it works in darkmode.
But now tables work in dark mode as well, no?
Nah,
there was that patch.
It's broken. It's jQuery. Don't trust jQuery CSS.
So I have the original, so I have this one here, and I am not 100% sure that showing the title here as the first thing is necessarily the right thing.
And what happens if it's a user change? It should be a
So the user, it's the username, and at the moment it will link through to actually editing that user. In the same way that the links here will take you through to editing the content item. But the original UI kind of, and oh look, here it is.
A custom display mode.
Sorry for interrupt you, but as you can see, there's a comment column here. So you can use a command column if you attach the Audit Trail part to a given content type. How can you show the content of the command column in this new UI?
That's what I'm saying.
So-
It should be a custom display type, and you can even customize everything if you want.
I haven't added any comments here, Gabor, but right now, if I had, they show up here and the view expands. So the comment gets listed underneath as a full sentence or multiple sentences is the intention there. What I found when I was looking at the table, particularly bad when I open up this, is that the table shrinks like this, which makes this wording very hard to actually, when you're looking at a massive list, to actually make sense of, because the sentences become too compressed. So on a smaller screen, and same with the comment, which is why the idea was to move it in the same way that there is a content zone. And again, it's not here, but there's a content zone underneath here where you can render custom stuff, and the view just expands. And same thing with the, where are we? With the IP address. The IP address is here, but there's a setting to turn the IP address on and off. So when there's no comment or no IP address, it was a bit weird to have a column there that was just empty and taking up wasted space. Did that make sense?
And custom display type. So if you want to customize exactly how it renders, when there is a comment or when it's a custom type, then customize it.
Yeah, it makes sense, but can we also add the summary, the content of the summary column, for example, under the comments one? So in that case, we will have, for example, 3 lines there. One shows the one that we can see right now. The second one could show the content of the comment, and the third one could contain the summary one.
You mean this summary text?
Yeah, the summary text.
The summary text. Yeah, we certainly could. It could be 2 lines. It may well fit together quite well. Drag that out to full size. It may well fit together quite well. I had experientially moved it to a badge here rather than the text, because I was having difficulty reading them, I suppose, and making consistent sense of what they were. But that could be a good option. I can't decide about the title first. I don't think that's right. I think it should probably go content, the event name, and maybe then the title. Maybe the title needs to move back over here as part of that text you're just talking about. Anyone have any preferences on that?
I don't know which would be the better in this case. Yeah, the original Audit Trail table don't have a title for these content item events.
Yeah, that's
No,
why
the title turns up here in the summary, which maybe is better because it's more visible what it is.
Yeah, or maybe we could use the event name as a title here, but I'm not sure about that also. So as you can see, restored, created, published. I'm not sure.
I'll have a little bit of a play around, and I'll try and I'll get the comment in as well. I was going to change the comment part to use Markdown rather than, because it's got it passes HTML at the moment. So if it passes HTML, I need to sanitize it, or or you can start running JavaScript on this page from editing a comment. So it's probably going to change that to use a Markdown parser, just for safety, just for security, really. So I will get that changed and see if we can't get it visible in here and jiggle around these a little bit and put a couple of pictures up for people to have a look at options and see what we can come up with.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Okay, Jean-Philippe, next week.
Yeah, let's do it next week.
Thank you. Sorry, there was no
it's
demo
fine.
and, last week, and there are too many today. So we'll have one next week at least. It's good. Questions, comments on everything we've seen? That is a no question and no comments. So we'll continue offline with these audit trail discussions. What did we see? The sort thing, we can merge it. Looks nice. Don't think anyone disagreed with that. Bertrand will write something on the issue on the PR created by Zoltan about media indexing. That's his job, so he will be paid to write some comments. And do it now. You're losing your time, wasting your time. You have to put some advice on that. And what else? And that's it, I think. So next meeting on Thursday for triage and next Tuesday for the next meeting. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.